All right. So thanks everybody for joining. I know it's such a nice day in Melbourne if you're in Melbourne, and it is our first day out of lockdown officially. So I'm surprised anyone's coming on here tonight. But thank you so much for joining. And yeah, as I said, it is being recorded. So everyone who's registered will receive this. Hello. And so I'm so excited for tonight. So in our first session, Hayley and I went through and really did a deep dive into understanding what the inner child was and how it comes about. And we also really prompted you guys with childhood, kind of, you know, any sort of prompts that might be in your childhood when it came to not just the chakra development, but we looked at what was happening developmentally. You know, as children. And sorry, just letting the last few people in. And so today what our plan is to really go the next step forward, and that is to actually give you guys some tips and tools on how to connect and actually work with the inner child. So I'm going to hand over to Hayley to start us off. So Hayley, firstly, can you just introduce your beautiful self?
I sure can. So hi everyone, my name's Hayley. I am a Reiki practitioner. I've done my, I guess, all my levels, bar level 1 with the beautiful Loretta, and I'm also a Reiki teacher. I am also a counsellor. I work with children and also adults, and I have a private practice in Chelsea called Grounded Therapies. My mum and I decided to create something together, incorporating the mind, body, and soul. So we offer massage, counselling, and Reiki, and also we've had a Vita practitioner join our team as well. So yeah, that's kind of me, I guess, in a nutshell. Yeah, so welcome everyone to Inner Child Part 2. And also welcome, you know, to those who are kind of, I guess, just joining for tonight. That's also fine too. It's really great to have you all here. So before I started, I just wanted to, I guess, talk a little bit about safety, because sometimes this work can be, I guess, a little bit triggering or a little bit overwhelming or confronting. So if at all you're feeling overwhelmed or triggered, or you kind of have a sense of, I don't know what this is, please get in contact with Loretta or myself. Or if you're already seeing somebody, just to make sure, we want to make sure that you're okay and that you're safe. And also Lifeline is a really great, I guess, point of contact as well. So I guess just to recap a little bit about, yeah, I suppose Loretta sort of did an introduction about what we did last time. So Loretta sort of discussed, I guess, child development through the chakra system. And I kind of came from the Western philosophy. And we looked at how to understand, how to connect, and what the inner child is. And tonight we'll be looking at what triggers might look like, working to connect with your inner child a little bit more, and some tips and tools and strategies on, you know, when you are feeling a bit triggered, what you can do. And also at the end, I've kind of put together a little intervention or a little creative activity. So hopefully that will be fun. So just, I guess, to really briefly give an overview of what the inner child is. So from the ages of 0 to 6, we start to learn all about emotions. So fear, love, guilt, loneliness, sadness, anger. And if you remember, or if you might not, if you haven't seen, I guess, the part 1, but this is the part of the brain called the limbic system, so which is the emotional center of the brain. So young children feel, then act. They can't think, then act. And this is because the emotional center part of the center of their brain, this is because the emotional center of their brain develops before the cortex. So the cortex is the thinking part of the brain. So basically, young children view their world through an emotional lens. And depending on how our emotions were perceived by parents or caregivers or others, we either become adults who are comfortable with our emotions and know how to process them, validate them, and express them, or we may, stuff them down, freeze, and, or freeze our emotions. And that's not to say that our parents or caregivers didn't do a good job, or, it's just simply that they did the best that they could with the knowledge and skill set that they had at that time when we were growing up. And I'm going to be completely honest, I believe at some stage we're going to fuck our kids up. I know that is a little bit confronting, but I kind of see it as no one is perfect. There is no rule book, there's no program, or there's no system that says, when they come home with this problem, this is how you do it. When they're having a tantrum, there's no set kind of guidelines on how you should act or respond to your children. But in saying that, with the knowledge and the studies that are sort of out there now, and what we know about brain development and, how we should be communicating with our children, it is our responsibility now as our adult self to heal those wounds, to reparent ourselves so that we can be the best support for our children, but also for ourselves and our inner child. I think that's really important, I guess, to acknowledge. I hope that all makes sense. So I guess I want to talk a little bit about triggers. Triggers are something that we have a reaction to or react to. And sometimes that is conscious, and sometimes that is also unconscious. Triggers can be, anniversaries of a loved one who has died, anniversary of trauma, feeling overwhelmed, financial difficulties. Could be something simple as, your partner not bringing in your washing while you've been at work all day, partner or a family member making comments to you or about you. So for example, I had made sugar cookies for my clients and colleagues. I was leaving my old organization, and my partner thought he would help himself to them. And when I guess confronted him or asked him if he ate them, he blamed me, and we've got a puppy. He blamed our dog. So instantly or automatically, I felt so triggered. I got really mad. But when I really slowed myself down and asked myself the question, what am I feeling? What's going on right now? What sensations are happening in my body? I was really able to connect with my inner child. And what I felt was that, or my inner child was, I didn't feel appreciated. I felt that all my hard work and effort had gone unnoticed. And the really big thing that I've in the past been working on with Loretta, and it's a continuous journey, this work, is I didn't feel seen and I didn't feel heard. And becoming aware of that, I was able to communicate with Johnny about how I felt, and, we spoke about it and apologized. So when we are triggered, it's important that we allow those feelings and the sensations to come up, and we notice them without judgment. So for example, okay, wow, I didn't feel heard or I didn't feel seen. That's okay. That must really hurt. What do you need now? So for me, I needed time to remove myself from the situation, regulate myself, validate my feelings, and then to really calm myself. And then I was able to go back and, have a chat with him about how I felt. And I think this is a really, I guess, important aspect, is to really feel our feels and notice them without judgment. Because in society, I believe that, we stop the negative emotions. To be honest, I don't even like to say negative emotions, because we're humans. We have all these feelings, and none of them are right or wrong. It's how we feel. And when we stop the negative emotions, we are pushing the child away again, and pushing away how we're truly feeling. So we want to validate our emotions and our feelings, and make sure that our inner child is seen, heard, and validated, because really that's how we are feeling, and that is okay. In a discussion, I can't remember when it was, Loretta, but you and I did a bit of a Facebook Live or Instagram Live or whatever they're called. And I spoke a little bit about the 3 R's, and I'm not going to go in full depth on what that is, but if you're interested to kind of know more about what that is, head over to Loretta's page or my page, and there's a video, I guess, in more detail on what that they are. So I just briefly sort of, what the 3 R's are is regulate. So that's, the first thing that we need to do, is to help regulate ourselves and calm the stress response. So the fight, flight, or freeze. So that's offering ourselves comfort and reassurance, and knowing and letting your inner child know that, hey, I'm here for you. The second R is relate, and that's relating to the limbic system. So for this R, we need to connect with our inner child. Their feelings need to be validated, so they know that they are seen, heard, and understood. So in the example where my partner ate my sugar cookies, I regulated myself, and a helpful response for me was, I know that was frustrating to have Johnny eat your cookies. So I'm validating that emotion, because I felt frustrated and I felt hurt. So that's really important. And the last R is reason. So this reason is got to do with the thinking brain. So if we kind of go into the reason straight away, it's not going to effectively work, because our brains work from the bottom up. So once you feel calm, connected, then you're able to engage and learn what to do. So that was, for me, going and having my time to myself, regulating myself, validating my feelings, and then going, okay, I need to talk to Johnny about this. And then that's when we can really help, I guess, work out, because again, I don't want to go too much into this, but when we are in that fight, flight, or freeze response, we've flipped our lid, so our thinking brain goes offline. So we want to help bring that part of our brain back on, so we are able to make, I guess, proper decisions. So this, I guess, can help with our own feelings and triggers, because our brains work from the bottom up. And I guess when we've experienced trauma as well, our sense of safety is really important. So I would suggest that if you're doing this work, just take it really slow, because we want to find out what makes your inner child feel safe first. That is the key, particularly, if you've experienced, any type of abuse, or you've been in an accident, or, and we know that trauma just isn't, those really big life events. It can be something, someone says to you, or being bullied by others and stuff like that. But you want to connect with your inner child and find out what makes them feel safe. Is it, having a warm blanket around you? Is it having a nightlight on? Is it having some water next to you, or whatever that may be? Just really finding out first what makes your inner child feel safe. And this work, it takes practice and it takes time. And, it's really important that you're extra kind and gentle to yourself, because as I mentioned earlier, this work can be really confronting. And scary as well, and quite overwhelming. So just, being mindful and giving yourself lots of love and lots of kindness. Okay, so how do we connect with our inner child? Meditations are a really great way to start. The holistic psychologist, Some of you may have heard of her. Her name is Dr. Nicole. I can't think of her last name, but I love her so much. She talks a lot about the inner child, the ego, and reparenting. Another one is, I think it's Raising Women. I actually found recently they have a really great inner child. I think it was like 14-minute meditation. But if you just Google inner child meditations, a whole heap will come up. So it's just kind of finding what resonates with you, I guess. Another thing that I love is set a play date with your inner child. Think about something you love doing as a child. So, for example, I have a client who loved rollerblading or roller skating. And, we talked a lot about that. So she went out and actually brought herself a pair of roller skates or rollerblades. And then the following week when she came back, she was I could see she was just beaming. She's like, I had so much fun. I loved it. It was so, I feel alive. I feel energized. And she made a promise to herself that she's going to do that at least once a week. Or it could be, if you loved horse riding, hopefully now with restrictions being eased, go somewhere and do a trail ride, or just go and visit and pat horses if you can. For me, for example, as a kid, I loved taking photos. I used to dress my sister and her best friend, and I'd take model shots of them climbing a tree or in the garden. I'm not sure if they enjoyed it. Me and my sister always have a bit of a laugh when it comes up, but that's something that I have loved, and I've just actually, it's sort of just come to me, and that's why I'm mentioning it tonight, because it sort of just come to me a couple of weeks ago. And so I've started doing that again, not modeling, taking photos of my sister and her friend, but just, out in the garden, at the beach, and just really connecting with my inner child. And, if you're, doing that kind of creative stuff, I also want to share with you that you don't need to show anyone. If you want to, obviously that is totally fine too, but it's just for you and for your inner child. So you don't feel pressured, I guess, sharing your creative stuff with anyone. But if you want to, obviously that is totally fine. Do what's right for you. Another tip is to become curious about your triggers, or what triggered you and how you feel. Ask yourself, what am I feeling? We tend to go into this mind interpretation of what our feelings, and that's just your ego trying to figure out what the feeling is. But we want the child to be present, and we want the child to come in and to be present. So just staying really present with the feeling and the sensations. Ask yourself how you feel and really feel them. Really slow down and feel in your body. And notice the sensation. So, for example, I know when I feel sad, I'm the type of person that I try to push it down and suppress it. I don't want that sadness to come up. But when I slow down, I get quite a tight sensation in my throat, and I stay with that. Yes, it is confronting, but I breathe. I really slow down and say to myself, it's okay. I'm noticing this tight feeling in my throat. And then it's my jaw, and it feels like my chest is also stuck. But just really being kind and gentle with myself and breathing. Sometimes I write it and just allow the feelings to come, allow the sadness to come up, allow the tears to flow. I think, it's really important just to be really curious, not to go, why am I feeling this way? Why is this happening? Just be curious. What is that? What's coming up? What do you need? Another great tool I have, and I might actually email it to you, Loretta. It's called, and I use it with my clients a lot, the Dual Awareness Protocol. So it kind of is like a step-by-step. So, for example, I think the first one is, right now I'm feeling. So you kind of name that current emotion you're feeling. And once you're able to sort of do that, you move on to the next step and sensing in my body. So name 3 sensations that you're feeling. Sensations are like tightness in the throat, knots in the stomach, and so on. And the next step is, because I'm remembering, and this part you name only, because I'm remembering when I was at school and, the teacher yelled at me and told me I was stupid or something like that. And then the next step is, however, I am here now. And in this part, you name the place, the date, and the time. And the next step is, I can see, and you then describe 3 things that you can see around you. And the next step is, and hear 3 things around you, and feel 3 things you can feel in your body. And when you're doing the see, hear, and feel, it's really important to describe to yourself, or if you're with someone else or your therapist or whoever it is, because that really helps us connect with the present moment. And then the last part is, so I know that blah, blah, name only is not happening anymore. So that's a little, I guess, a really good tool or strategy to use if you're feeling quite overwhelmed and triggered. Okay, does that feel okay, Loretta? Did you want to add anything to any of that?
No, that all sounds really good. So far, it sounds really, really good. I love all those different kinds of different tips as well. I was just going to say too that sometimes like setting the play date with your inner child, sometimes it can be hard for us to remember what we love to do as children as well. I know that I'm working with a client at the moment, and she's completely blocked out a whole heap of her childhood. Like she's really kind of disassociates from her childhood. And so a lot of it she can't remember that sort of stuff. And also if I ask her to think of, when was the first time she felt like that, or, taking her back to any kind of time, she just cannot get there. So I also just wanted to mention that, sometimes we just have to just honor wherever you're at. Like if you feel like that kind of stuff is too hard as it is, like that's okay as well. It's absolutely fine. And the funny thing about this work is that sometimes it comes up without you even realizing, and you might get memories, like you might see somebody else dancing, or hear someone talking about doing something, you'll be like, oh, I think, it might just trigger a little bit of a memory within you or something like that. I was telling Hayley actually about a memory that I got it was a few weeks ago now, and I was cutting up my daughter's apples to take to kindergarten, and I noticed myself trying to cut them perfectly. And I was sitting there like perfectly I'm like, oh, I've got to peel them perfectly. And I caught myself and I was like, where the hell is that coming from? Like, who cares what the apple looks like? And then it just totally triggered memories of me always feeling like I had to have, always having anxiety about what I was going to have in my lunchbox at school, because I grew up in a really Anglo area, and I'm Italian background, and my parents just didn't even get any of that. So I never had Vegemite sandwiches and stuff like that. I always had these weird and wonderful kind of foods in my lunchbox, and I always had anxiety about, oh my God, they're going to ask me, what is that? And does it smell funny? Or, I was always worried about things like that. And my mum never cared about cutting my apple properly, or she never cut the crusts off and things like that. I didn't have a mum like that. So I was like projecting my stuff onto my daughter, and trying to cut her and make her lunchbox look acceptable and validate that. So I just wanted to mention that sometimes it comes up in those in ways that we have no idea and really didn't remember. So just be open to accepting whenever that does come through.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, like Loretta said, just accepting where you are, because like this work it's a forever thing. You know, so many things are going to keep coming up as you kind of grow and heal. And, you know, if you haven't had children yet, you know, that's like another new, I guess, new phase of your life, and watching them grow, and at certain ages perhaps that's going to trigger something within you. So it's just, yeah, honor where you are right then and now, I guess, in this present moment. So I thought we could do a little bit of a creative activity. Now, if you don't feel comfortable, obviously that is totally fine also. So I forgot to mention at the start, if you have pencils or texters available, great, and paper or a notepad, fantastic. But literally a pen is fine. You know, we're not doing anything like Picasso or anything like that. So yeah, if you have materials with you, fantastic. Or you might like just to sit and listen to, that also is okay. If you feel comfortable, you can leave your cameras on, or you might want to turn them off. That also is okay. Whatever feels comfortable for you. Okay. So we're just going to take a moment, you know, just getting comfortable in your chair or on your bed, wherever you're situated. So we're just going to place a hand on our heart. And closed eyes if you can. Or soften the gaze, relaxing the muscles around your eyes. And we're going to take 3 deep belly breaths in together. Breathing in, filling your belly right up. And breathing out. Breathing in and out. Taking one last deep breath in together. And out. Just bringing your breath back to an easy, steady flow. And could I invite you to begin by choosing your drawing materials and start to become curious about the material you have chosen. Is it a pen or a colored pencil? Just for a moment, notice how it feels in your hand. Notice its texture. Notice its color. If okay, let yourself relax and let your hands move wherever they want to on your page. Do they want to be still? Or do they want to move? You may like to keep your eyes closed, or you may wish to open your eyes during this process. Allow your hand to move and create whatever emerges. It may be shapes, lines, people, dots, scribble, or perhaps it's a memory. Just allow your hand to freely express and create without judgment. I'm now going to give you a couple of minutes with your creation. You have a few moments left with your creation. If you do not want to move on, that is okay. You may like to come back to it at a later time, or you may like to continue on. As you start to finish your creation, be open and curious about it. And curious about what happened for you. And notice what that process was like for you. We are now going to come back together. And we're going to finish with 3 deep belly breaths and bring our awareness back to now. Popping your hand on your chest or your heart. Taking a deep breath in and out. Bringing your awareness back to your breath. Breathing in and out. Taking another deep breath in and out. Start to become aware of the things that you can hear, things that you can see, things that you can touch, things that you can smell, things that you can taste. And imagine you have tree roots coming from the ground up through to your feet, and they are pulling you back into this present moment. So that was just a real simple activity that you can do to just connect with yourself, connect with your inner child. And it's really important, it doesn't have to be difficult when you're first starting out, I guess, in, connecting with that inner child. It's doing simple things like that, being present when you're drawing or, coloring in, just keeping it really simple, because we don't want to overwhelm your inner child or yourself. We want to make sure that your inner child feels safe. So just starting off small and gentle. I hope you enjoyed that little activity. That you've got something out of tonight's inner child workshop. So thank you.
Thanks, Hayley. I just wanted to also share a couple of other little things that that I find really important when we're doing inner child work. And the first one is just on the meditation piece. If you guys don't feel like you've got access to a meditation, or you're really finding one that that resonates with you or anything like that, a really simple and quick technique that you can do is actually just take yourself. For those of you who are attuned to Reiki, you can do this through a self-Reiki session. You can actually, or just through meditation, whatever you like, but actually just taking yourself back to a time where you feel like, for example, if that I talked about the apples coming up. So I would take myself back to a time where I felt, the lunchbox anxiety, like that incident was coming up for me. So I would take myself back to that time And I would actually see myself at that age and see myself in that, feeling all those feelings, and really connecting, allowing my adult self now to connect with my younger self and just allow her to be nurtured the way that she needs to. So asking her, you know, what is it that she needs to feel better, or to, you know, what does she need to hear? What does she need for me to say to her? What does she need for me to do? And often you'll either hear something like, you know, I need a hug, or I need to be told that I'm okay. I need to be told that I'm enough, that I'm good enough, that you know, that it doesn't matter, or whatever it might be. So sometimes you can just give your younger self these, whatever it is that she needs. And this is really, really beautiful in terms of just nurturing that younger part of yourself. For those of you who are tuned to level 2 Reiki and above, using symbol number 3 is really powerful when you're doing inner child work, because we get to go into the past with that symbol. So healing that part of ourselves. But it's just a really beautiful way to connect with her and give her what she needs. Now, the reason that we want to be able to really, I guess, nurture and offer her, although, you know, everything that she needs, even when she's younger, is because, remember, that time is not linear. So what we have experienced in the past isn't just left in the past, right? We're still experiencing it today. So those pains, the traumas, the whatever it is that we have felt in the past, and whatever we're going to feel in the future is going to affect us today. So we actually have the opportunity to heal those things in the past, and for them to have a really positive effect on us today. So, you know, Hayley was talking about connecting. So I just wanted to bring some context into why we do this work. And that is really because of that, because the way, if we can go back and heal those times where we felt like we needed more love or more attention, you know, we needed to be heard, we needed to be seen, we needed to feel safer, all of those sorts of things. If we can go back and give her those things, we have that opportunity to heal and actually create and make improvements and feel much more empowered in our day-to-day life today as an adult. And those triggers become less and less overpowering and overbearing, I guess, in our day-to-day life. At the moment, many of us are, I guess, being ruled by the inner child wounds, you know, and this is where we are, the triggers are really having an impact on your life, and you see that coming out in being really reactive, or getting really angry or frustrated, or, you know, feeling triggered for no reason. I was having a client session today, and she was talking about how on the weekend she felt really triggered by Daniel Andrews, and how he wasn't giving anyone freedom on Sunday, and she felt really triggered by it. And you know, and I said to her, what was going on? Like, what kind of thoughts were coming up when you were hearing nothing, you know, no news, no restrictions being eased? And she just said, well, he's treating us like we're naughty children, and he's treating us like we don't know what's good enough for us, and I don't like being told what to do. And as you can see, it wasn't about what was actually going on. It was about her. This was her little younger self going, hey, I'm not a naughty kid. Don't tell me what to do. That's exactly what it was, you know. So it's amazing the way that the inner child shows up in our day-to-day life. So when we have the awareness to actually see how it's showing up and how it's affecting and impacting us, going back and nurturing that part of ourselves that needs that love and to be held, and that compassion, when we can go back and do that, the more impact it has, a more powerful effect it'll have on our day-to-day today as adults. And what happens is the inner child then is not like ruling the way that we live our life, right? We're actually able to make decisions on how we want to react as an adult, not coming from, you know, the 8-year-old who's being told that she needs to go to her room. Or, you know, is being told that she can't eat that or can't play with that or whatever. So we need to really remember that, you know, I guess why we're doing these things, and knowing that self-awareness is the key, right? The more that we know about ourselves, the whole self, not just the adult self, but the more that we know about the whole self, the inner child, the ego, the shadow, the limiting beliefs, like all the parts of ourselves, the more that we actually have an opportunity to be empowered to actually take that control over how we want to live our day-to-day life. So hopefully that'll make sense for you guys, and you can really start to work with that and feel empowered to work with your inner child a little bit more for yourself. We've got time for some questions if anyone does have any questions. Anything they would like to ask, or any if you've got any specific.
Loretta, hi, I'd love to ask a question.
Hi, Jaclyn, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
So yeah, I just wanted to ask how you would weave this into, like, would you be weaving this inner child work into Reiki sessions with your clients, or like, would you, I guess, see if they brought up something about it and then you would work with it, or would you just, you know, intuitively kind of feel that that's an area that they need a little bit of help with?
Yeah, are you I just want to clarify, are you asking as a practitioner how would you do that?
Yeah.
Or how I do that?
As a practitioner, well, yeah, either or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So as a practitioner, you can absolutely work with the inner child. So I gave some examples. As a practitioner, using symbol number 3 is amazing, and at practitioner level, level 2, you're already using symbol number 3 anyway. It is really powerful also for you to guide your client. You can do the guided meditation for them, and while you're doing that, just facilitating the Reiki for them during that time, and really just facilitating, as I said, the guided meditation, and so you're doing the Reiki at the same time. So you're really getting them to go back there, and then they're actually choosing how they want to nurture their inner child, while you're just helping create that. You're facilitating and holding that space for them to do that, for it to work. So it's really, really powerful as a practitioner. I've done this many times with clients, and being able to see them, and come to the end of it, and they're like, wow, I was able to see her and go to her, and and I could give her love and and all that kind of stuff. So it is really, really powerful. And often, just in general, you'll find that clients are really able to get into that space a lot easier when they're in a session than usually when they're by themselves. It depends on how much work they've done, and how easily they are to get themselves into that sort of space. But yeah, very often it's easier for them to get into there when the space is being held for them. So that's kind of I guess how you could absolutely do that. In terms of how to identify the inner child issue, it really just comes with some of it is intuitive. To be honest, a lot of it is just practice. A lot of it comes with experience, in terms of, when you see this stuff enough with clients, you just are able to notice, it's the way that they're talking about things, and the way, because very often people don't come in and they go, hi, I've got inner child issues, can we work through them? Sure. Usually it's something like, I can't find the right partner, or I can't have children, or I keep getting the same manager who is a real asshole, or it's some kind of repeated pattern in their life that keeps showing up, and that is the that's kind of I guess that's a symptom to the cause of the issue. So in terms of, you know, how to get to understand what the cause is, I mean, that really just comes with experience. It comes with, you know, working with, you know, a mentor and how to facilitate those sorts of things and understand your clients and understanding all of that sort of stuff. It's not necessarily something you'll just learn from your Reiki, you know, from learning Reiki, but it is something that will develop over time. It's also part of, I've got to say, coaching experience as well. So, you know, I'm obviously I'm a coach as well, and I find it just such an important part of the work that we do as, you know, as practitioners as well. It's kind of a really, really important piece in being able to really take our clients to that next level and work through different issues. Hopefully that helps. Sorry, the sun is really in my yeah, hopefully that helps.
Yeah, it does.
Cool. So there's another question here. Do you have advice for someone who's having trouble connecting? Yeah. So Hayley, do you want to talk to this one?
Yes. I would say love and kindness, and be really gentle with yourself, and perhaps maybe making what's the word? Like I said about, you know, having a play date, you know, maybe it's having once a week that you sit with yourself and, you know, be creative, whether that be drawing or coloring in, and just be curious in what's going on. Is it, this is stupid, I don't want to do this, or is there tears? You know, just being really giving yourself lots of love and kindness. And also Loretta mentioned it earlier about it's okay where you are at with, you know, if you're having difficulties within that, it will come just in time and with patience as well. But yeah, all I can say is just lots of love, lots of kindness, and, you know, being really kind and gentle, because for whatever reason, she or he is not wanting to, I guess, kind of emerge, and that's okay. So yeah, just doing little gentle things to really help connect with that part of yourself.
I also think you know, some of this is just honoring where you're at, right? We're always so actually just wrote a post about this on Instagram and Facebook this morning, because I've been working with a client on this week. Actually, it keeps coming up for her. She's on the phone telling me that she's got all these limiting beliefs and needs to shift them and and I'm like, whoa, just gosh, you know, sometimes we get really obsessed with trying to grow and progress, and I've got to work through this and I've got to work through that, and it's like, hang on a second, you know, sometimes it's not a limiting belief. Sometimes it's just you know, a part of who you are, and that's okay. And just honor that this is just, you know, what's coming up for you at the moment. And it's not always a negative. Like, we so often look at parts of ourselves as a negative, and gosh, inner child's a great example of this. There's so many parts of inner child that are great for us. You know, there's the fun aspect, the play, the emotional side. Like, how beautiful to be led by our emotions. Imagine just, you know, that just feels so good, so I'm just going to do that. And imagine our sole objective every day was just to play and have fun. Like, there's so much about the inner child that is really worth honoring and worth, you know, really just working with, you know, rather than seeing it as something that you always need to change or improve, or so just really honoring wherever we're at, and knowing that when it is time to work through this stuff, it's going to happen. It will absolutely happen when it's time. But in the meantime, just like Hayley said, it's such having more love and compassion for yourself. You just can't, you really just can't go wrong with that. That's always the answer, right? Holding a space of unconditional love is always the answer. Absolutely. And Jaclyn, just further to the question as well, you know, I also wanted to say when I said you don't just learn this stuff from doing, you know, a Reiki class, it's because you become a good practitioner because you practice this stuff, right? You do the work, and you're constantly trying to work on your inner child, or working through your you know, in a way that obviously is honoring where you're at as well. So the more that you continue to do, try to be the best version of you, the more you're going to be able to hold that space for others to be the same. Yeah, so it's I think just being a little bit more compassionate with yourself in terms of wherever you're at. If you are not connecting to the inner child, there is a reason you've blocked stuff out from your childhood. And yeah, so this isn't like, oh, we need to go back and re-traumatize, or we need to go back and uncover what really happened. And I also have worked with people like that who get really obsessed with, I need to know the truth of what really happened back then, and you know, and they get really in their head about stuff, and it's like, no, like don't worry about that. That's not what this is about. What this is about is trying to be a better version of you now, and trying to give you what you need to make your present moment better and the future better. It's not about trying to, you know, go back into the past and trying to fix everything or trying to know everything. Just if that does play out and it does come out, then that's great, but it's not necessary. You know, this certainly isn't about going back and re-traumatizing or anything like that. This is just about working with who we truly are and reconnecting with that essence of who we are. And sometimes that's not going to be revealed in the details, right?
And I just want to add to that question as well, that, you know, maybe it's about, rather than, you know, you're having that difficulty connecting, maybe it's about finding what makes you feel safe. Maybe your inner child isn't feeling safe. And like I mentioned earlier, you know, when you are sitting down with yourself and, you know, doing this stuff, doing this work, you know, find what makes you feel safe inside, you know, a warm blanket, or, you know, a light on, or a photo, or whatever that is. Just trying to really connect with, or finding out what that sense of safety means for you and your inner child. I think that's probably also really important too. Cool.
Yeah, I love that. So true. So true. I think as children, we want safety, right? It's one of our primal needs, to be the safety and certainty. Always really good ones. So good. All right. Any other questions? Cool. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. If you do have questions though, feel free to get in touch with Hayley or myself. And I hope you really enjoyed that, and I really hope you're all going to have some fun with your little versions of you. Okay. So
thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.